What up? Logan here. Today I want to talk about 10 things I've learned that I think are important to know when you're transitioning from a traditional martial art like TaeKwonDo to a more contemporary martial art like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I recently started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after about 4 years of training in TaeKwonDo, and the transition has been relatively smooth. I'm actually doing both, but there are some little things that I've learned that I thought might be important to share for those who are considering starting but come from a traditional martial arts background. Let's get into that list, but before we do, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, subscribe to the channel. The first thing, you don't know anything. It's easy to think that the training that you've been doing in traditional martial arts will carry over to any martial art, but that's just not true. If you've never done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you walk into a gym for the first time, just know everything that you've learned basically doesn't apply. Now, that's not true of things like respect, honor, cleanliness, and hard work, but in terms of technique, they're very different martial arts. But just know that I certainly thought some of what I've learned would matter, and really it's been about nothing. Number two, be quiet. Another way of saying that may be listen more than speaking. The point here is that you're learning something new. It's always better to just be quiet and take in everything that you can, both from the instructor and from the upper belts. You may see something from your training that seems like it might apply to something else, but you don't know what the other upper belts are working on. What I have to worry about is me, and maybe as you progress through the ranks, you can correct people you know are making a mistake. But when you don't know anything, don't try to offer up advice to somebody who knows a lot more than you. Number three, be prepared to lose a lot. And by a lot, I mean all the time. I'm a very competitive person, so it's very difficult for me mentally to just take these losses and get choked out, armbarred, etc. But it's coming. If you start training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even if you train with someone who's only a month or two ahead of you, you are going to lose. Number four, focus on defense. Knowing that you're going to lose all the time, it should be a natural extension that you're just not going to have any offense. So you need to work on defending, keeping your elbows in, not extending your arms. Don't grip everything, know when to grip. Having really strong defense is foundational to anything. But when you come from a traditional martial art, which is a striking martial art, most of what we do is offense. We're thinking about attacking, striking, neck chopping, punching. We certainly teach blocking, high block, in out block, but those blocks aren't really practical in a fight. If someone's punching me, I don't get my in-out block. The technique is the same, the principle what I use with my hips and my body, but we think about striking. You don't think about defense a lot. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're on the ground, you're in close proximity. Having really strong defense might actually be the best way to set up a really good offense. Number five, don't strike. And traditional martial arts are striking martial arts. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is often called the gentle martial art for lots of reasons. Choking someone out is a lot nicer than roundhouse kicking someone to the jaw and removing all their teeth. So reaching up and grabbing a collar is a smoother way and a more gentle way of implementing a technique as opposed to reaching up and grabbing that collar. When I started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I tended to move really quick with my hands, and you don't have to. It wastes a lot of energy, and you really want to do the opposite, conserve your energy. So don't strike. Number six, rest as required. This is true really in training anything new, but if you've never done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, odds are you are going to get hurt. Odds are you're going to get hurt training in anything, but the moves that you do in Jiu-Jitsu with your knees, crossing your knees in close guard, as much gripping as you do, it's not just physically exhausting, but you're activating new muscles that you've probably never used your whole life. Inevitably, they're going to get sore. And training through some of that soreness makes sense, but try to be smart with your body because you want to train forever. And that requires using wisdom and discernment, knowing when you're injured and you're just sore. If you are injured and you want to continue training, I suggest you just communicate with your partner, communicate with the instructor, or come to class and just watch. Number 7, tap before the pain. I have had my elbow hyperextended, ankle twisted, neck super tight and rash burn all down, my face smashed against a mat. Depending how competitive you are, it may be difficult to want to tap out. Anytime you're learning something new, and again, you don't want to get injured, just tap out. There's no pride here. You're learning something new. You're going to be put in positions that are very awkward. Be smart about it. Tap out before the pain so you can continue to train. Number 8, relax. This is also one of those universal principles. In any fighting system, the looser and more relaxed you are with your shoulders, your arms, everything about being relaxed physically makes your body motion better. That said, real relaxation starts with a mindset. And that's easier said than done. One time I was under a guy, he's in mount position, and I was struggling, and I could do nothing. After a minute of solid struggling, I was exhausted, and then he submitted me. See, there's a difference between being mounted by someone and being in danger by someone. Just because someone's on top of me doesn't mean I'm in danger. Danger's probably coming. When you're under someone and they're mounted on top of you, you're not being choked out, you're not being submitted. It just feels uncomfortable. It's easy to think, man, I gotta get out of here, but you really don't. If you could mentally relax first, then relax your body, the attacker has to move into something to create a threatening situation. They have to lift themselves up. If it was a self-defense situation, they have to actually rise in order to punch, to create that distance. When they rise up, I have an opportunity now to do something, to take some offensive action. If they're going to move to a collar choke or to side control, they have to move. When they do, an opening will create. Trying to create an opening when there's not a real threat, all it really does is exhaust you and guarantee they're going to get the submission. So just relax. Number 9, be prepared to admit just how weak your core is. The techniques and exercise we do in TaeKwonDo revolve a lot around kicking, jumping, some core exercises, but by and large, the striking and punching that I do doesn't activate my core nearly as much as bridging or hip escaping. This isn't a knock on traditional martial arts, and it's not a promotion of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's just the difference in the two. So when I'm warming up, as an example, the upper belts do 2 or 3 to 1 as many bridges as I do because they've been doing it for so long. Their core is that much more stronger. Just be prepared when you're way behind in the number of crunches, bridges, hip escapes that other people do. Try not to compare yourself to them. Just recognize you got a weak core and then start working out. And the last one, number 10, really everything is different. The difference isn't just the fighting style, it's a culture. Traditional martial arts come from the East, where our military brought them back to America in the 60s and 70s. So we have this Eastern philosophy championed by a military personality. So naturally that sort of mentality is going to be pervasive through the culture. On the flip side, you have the Japanese bringing jiu-jitsu to Brazil, Brazilians modifying it and adapting it for a smaller frame, and that birthed in a Brazilian South American culture, and then that being brought into the limelight in UFC 1 in the 90s, and now today it's everywhere. So the origin stories of both are markedly different. So the cultures are markedly different. For example, in Taekwondo, you'd never take your belt and throw it on the floor. It'd be a real sign of disrespect. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if it's in the way, man, it's gone. In Taekwondo, it's a lot of bowing, a lot of handshaking. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's a lot of hugging. In Taekwondo, there's a lot of kicking and striking and yelling. Yeah! In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's a lot of grabbing and rolling and breathing, not so much a ki out. That's it. 10 things to think about if you're practicing a traditional martial art and you're getting ready to try the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journey. Both are awesome. I love them both. Excited about them both. If you have any tips for other people, please comment below. We'll start a conversation. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, train hard. Parents, parent.